What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT. Got an hour and 30 until the Texans-Steelers playoff game kicks off. So to kill a little bit of time, I wanted to come on here and give a few more takeaways from Wildcard weekend. Justin Herbert's playoff woes continue. He is now 0-3 in the postseason. What's next for the Philadelphia Eagles after getting upset by the 49ers? I have two moves that they have to make in order to make it back to the Super Bowl. What's the futures for the Jaguars and the Panthers following their playoff losses? And I'll give you guys my early thoughts on the divisional round games in the NFC between the Rams, Bears, 49ers, Seahawks. If you live, eat, breathe, and die football, you come to the right place. We're talking all things football, NFL, college football, 24/7, 365 days throughout the year. If you're a football junkie, make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you don't miss when we drop new content. We have the national championship game less than a week away. The Super Bowl is just around the corner. You definitely want to make sure that you have notifications turned on. We're finna be dropping content like it's nobody's business. Remember, JT Sports isn't just a YouTube channel. We also are a podcast. You can find the audio versions of every single episode on the channel, wherever you get your podcast from, Apple, Spotify. The links are down in the pinned comment and description down below. Give us a 5-star review if you enjoy. You want to support us. It only takes 15 seconds to do. Let's dive into it. We gotta have the tough conversation about Justin Herbert. As we already know, the Chargers lost to the Patriots 16-3 in the wildcard round. Justin Herbert is now 0-3 in the playoffs. And in his 3 playoff losses, he has 2 touchdowns and a whopping 7 turnovers. 2 things can be true about Justin Herbert. He's not good in the playoffs, but it's not entirely his fault why he has struggled in the playoffs. And this isn't making excuses for Justin Herbert. This is giving out necessary context for why Justin Herbert has had the playoff performances that he has had. Because contrary to popular belief, football isn't 1 versus 11. It's 11 versus 11, along with the coaches that are on the sidelines. You need everybody to do their job in order to win in the playoffs. You could have the greatest quarterback performance ever and still lose if everybody else doesn't hold up their end of the bargain. We seem to forget that football is a team sport when it comes to critiquing and analyzing quarterbacks' performances in the playoffs. You can be Patrick Mahomes, play as good as anybody, and still lose in the postseason. It's just not about Justin Herbert. It's about Greg Roman, his play calling being really questionable. You knew that your offensive line was terrible, so why would you continue to dial up these long developing passing concepts? Greg Roman is a fantastic coordinator when it comes to getting the most out of the run game. Everywhere that Greg Roman has been, he's always produced an elite rushing attack. But these past 2 seasons with Justin Herbert, it's more so been Greg Roman spamming pass plays and Justin Herbert being able to elevate Greg Roman's play calling more so than Greg Roman being able to take a little bit of pressure off of Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. There's no doubts that Justin Herbert is elite. There's no doubts that Justin Herbert is a top 10 quarterback in this league. Quarterback performances in the playoffs don't have any bearings on how good you are overall as a QB. You could be a good quarterback and have a few bad playoff games. It happens to the best of them. Tom Brady has some bad playoff games. Patrick Mahomes has had a few bad postseason games. The only difference is if you win, nobody cares about how bad you play. If you play good and your team still loses, you can still get blamed for a loss. Justin Herbert isn't trash. He isn't a fraud. He has carried the Chargers with the worst offensive line in the NFL, being the most sacked quarterback in the league, with also an offensive line that's top 3 and pressures allowed. You can't win if your offensive line can't keep the quarterback upright. Justin Herbert was getting hit left and right. There were guys flying all over the place. You had guys that I didn't even remember getting sacks on Justin Herbert. Do you guys remember Caleb Von Chasen? Former first-round pick by the Jaguars. He was on that 2019 National Championship LSU team. Yeah, I forgot about that dude too. Somehow he's on the New England Patriots and he's second on the team in sacks. He was getting pressure on Justin Herbert. You had Harold Landry getting pressure on Justin Herbert. It's not like the Patriots had a team full of Myles Garrett's and Michael Parsons on their squad. They had guys that were like okay pass rushers getting hits on Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert has been playing through like 3-4 injuries this year and has still been able to carry the Chargers into the postseason despite the limitations that he has had to overcome. Let's be honest, the Chargers season was over before it even started. When Rashawn Slater, after he got that contract extension, pretty much had his Achilles pop out before the season, you knew that the Chargers weren't going to be as good as expected. Then the cherry on top of the cake was when you lose Joe Alt, not once but twice throughout this season. He missed a few games to start this year for injury. Then when he comes back a few weeks later, he's out for the rest of the season with another injury. The Chargers were supposed to have the best offensive line in the NFL this season. They went from having what was supposed to be an elite offensive line to now one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL to end the season due to the amount of injuries that they had there. And of course, injuries are a part of the game. You have to be able to overcome them. It's a next man up mentality. But when you have so many injuries on the offensive line, there really isn't no such thing as a next man up. It's very hard to have starting caliber offensive linemen on your bench. Because the majority of the times, if you have an offensive lineman on your bench that's good enough to start, he's getting paid a boatload of money to start elsewhere in free agency. So when you lose 2-3 starters, especially 2 offensive tackles that are the best at their position or some of the best at their position, of course, it's going to be a massive detriment to your team. Offensive tackles are so important in football when you have these guys like Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Michael Parsons, who you got to be able to keep from getting their hands on the quarterback. So when you lose offensive tackles this good, there's going to be an incredible drop-off between them and the rest of the guys that you're going to have replace them. The Chargers had guys coming off the street starting for them at offensive tackle. Then, not to mention, they with their signing of Mekhi Becton, turns out he was just a product of the Philadelphia Eagles scheme and system and their offensive line coaching, because he's been absolute horrendous for the Chargers. When they show the PFF grades, when the players are doing their introductions, Mekhi Becton was like 48 out of 49 ranked out of all the offensive guards in the NFL. So this offensive line wasn't good enough for the Chargers to make a deep playoff run this year. Football is still won and lost on the line of scrimmage. Even if you have Tom Brady in his prime, you're not going far if your offensive line straight up sucks. Justin Herbert is only 27 years old. He has 13 more years left of football in him. He eventually will have his moment. He eventually will have some postseason success. Jim Harbaugh is too good of a head coach for Justin Herbert to not eventually start having some postseason success. Well, JT, when is the postseason success going to come for Justin Herbert? When can we actually have some fair expectations for him, hold him to them, and then if he not meet those expectations, then we are right to properly criticize him? I say that comes next season. Next season should be the best team that Justin Herbert has ever had on the Chargers. You're going to be in your third season under Jim Harbaugh, your third season under Greg Roman. So there's already a lot of familiarity with the coaching, with the scheme. You already have good receivers. You got Ladd McConkey, who had a little bit of a down year. You're going to have a breakout season possibly from Trey Harris. Aronde Gatson is an absolute dog. Amarion Hampton, Vidal. You got a really good 1-2 punch at running back. When you get your offensive line back healthy, you have one of the best offensive lines in the league. The defense should also be really good, regardless if you keep or lose Jesse Mentor, because Jim Harbaugh is just very good at finding good coordinators. Next season will be when Justin Herbert not winning a playoff game is a big stain on his legacy, a big stain on his career, because next season is going to be the year when the Chargers should actually be able to compete for the Super Bowl, and there'll be nothing else holding them back. It'll be no more, oh, we're still in a little bit of a rebuild under Jim Harbaugh. He's still trying to build the team to his liking. He's still trying to build a team that fits the brand of football he wants to play. It's year 3 now. Jim Harbaugh should have all his guys in there, whether that be from the draft, via free agency. This officially will be Jim Harbaugh's team. Justin Herbert will have as good as a team as he's ever had, being the starting quarterback for the Chargers. So next season is when I expect for Justin Herbert to finally make some noise in the playoffs and for the Chargers to finally be legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Jim Harbaugh has won everywhere he's been. He's only missed the playoffs one time in all his years being a head coach. This goes back to decades ago when he was coaching the 49ers. So when I say Jim Harbaugh wins, that isn't hyperbole. That isn't my fandom, since I love Jim Harbaugh, being biased towards him. Based off Jim Harbaugh's track record, based off his rap sheet, he eventually will have success in the postseason. When you have to overcome injuries on the offensive line, that effectively ends any shot you have at making a deep playoff run. Yes, injuries in football can be overcome at receiver, corner, even a little bit on the defensive line. But when you lose starting offensive linemen, there is no next man up mentality. There is no, oh, we got to get some guys off the street to see if we can get a little bit of juice out of them. The Bears were able to get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson off the street to help improve their secondary. You don't find offensive linemen like a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. You feel me? You don't find offensive linemen that you pick up right off the street and they can be a low-end starter for you at offensive tackle. That's why offensive tackles are one of the most highest paid at their positions. Because offensive tackles, good ones, great ones, don't grow on trees. Even an average left tackle or an average offensive tackle commands a pretty decent payday in free agency. Because even finding a serviceable offensive tackle is very difficult to find. So for the Chargers to have so many injuries on the offensive line and expect for Justin Herbert to somehow be able to overcome that, it's just irrational thinking. Oh, well, we want to hold Justin Herbert to the same standard that everybody holds Lamar to. Have that same energy for Justin Herbert that you have for Lamar Jackson. Nobody compares Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson. They're in two different tiers. Lamar Jackson is the most talented quarterback in NFL history. Justin Herbert is a good quarterback, but he's not Lamar. Lamar is part of the big 3, the big 4 of elite quarterbacks in college football. Well, in the NFL, you got Joe Burrow, Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar. Then it's everybody else. Justin Herbert is in the tier beneath that. Very good, but not great like how Lamar, Burrow, Allen, and Mahomes are. So why are we saying that we need to have the same energy for Justin Herbert that we do for Lamar Jackson when he loses in the playoffs, when these two quarterbacks are in completely different stratospheres? You have certain expectations for Lamar because the Ravens are a lot more closer to winning a Super Bowl. They're a better constructed team than what the Chargers are. The Ravens are one of the gold standards of the NFL for what a well-ran organization looks like in this league. Meanwhile, the Chargers have been one of the most dysfunctional franchises in the NFL for the majority of our lifetime. It hasn't been until now Justin Herbert has just gotten a halfway decent coach. You're going to hold his first playoff loss against them when the Chargers blew that big lead to Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, when he had Brandon Staley as his head coach in his first playoff game. Justin Herbert's first playoff game, he had Brandon Staley as his head coach. Brandon Staley sucked. So why are we trying to act like coaching and the other players on the team don't play a factor into these playoff losses? We want to make it seem like Justin Herbert's playing offensive tackle, he's calling the plays, he's playing defense, he's kicking field goals, he's punting the football off. I guess Justin Herbert was out there playing punt, pass against the Patriots in this playoff game, since he's getting all the blame. He was the only reason why the Chargers lost the game, even though the brother was getting sacked pretty much every time he dropped back. You put Tom Brady behind that Chargers offensive line, or Joe Montana, Peyton Manning in their prime, and they're not having a better game than what Justin Herbert did against the Patriots. Because if you can't win on the line of scrimmage, the game is already lost. Justin Herbert is eventually going to have his moment in the playoffs, and I believe it's going to come next season with the team that the Chargers should have, with everybody coming back healthy on the offensive line, being able to also improve that position and also being able to improve the team overall. The Chargers have a very promising team as far as how well they've drafted, how well they've gone about making good signings in free agency. The Chargers aren't wasting Justin Herbert. The Chargers next season should be Super Bowl contenders with a healthy offensive line. You have a few young guys at receiver that could break out. Trey Harris, Lat McConkey is already a household name somewhat. I'm still a big believer in Amarion Hampton. Showed a lot of flash, and the defense isn't going anywhere. So next season, the Chargers are going to have as good as a situation for Justin Herbert as he's ever had as their starting quarterback. He's not being wasted. He doesn't need to demand a trade. The Chargers don't need to blow it up and consider trading Justin Herbert. Do you not know how hard it is, despite the flaws that Justin Herbert has, to find a quarterback that's as good as him? You put Justin Herbert on the Philadelphia Eagles or the Minnesota Vikings, and those are arguably the best teams in the NFL. Those teams are Justin Herbert quarterback away from dominating the NFL this season. Justin Herbert, if he was on the trade market right now, literally half the league, even if they had a somewhat serviceable starting quarterback, would be interested in trading for him. He's a top 10 quarterback. And despite the playoff struggles that he has, there are plenty of teams that would die to have the kind of quarterback play that the Chargers have received out of Justin Herbert. You watch Justin Herbert play, this dude is a fantastic athlete with a phenomenal arm. There's not a single play that Josh Allen can make that Justin Herbert isn't capable of being able to make. That's the kind of quarterback that the Chargers have. You just don't trade that away. A quarterback like Justin Herbert is hard to find. For as many Justin Herberts that are out there, you can just as easily find you an Anthony Richardson or a J.J. McCarthy in the draft. The Chargers eventually are going to have postseason success with Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. The 0-3 playoff record looks ugly right now, but eventually that's going to change. It's way too early into Justin Herbert's career. I don't even think it's way too early. I think it's really irresponsible for me to come out and say, yeah, Justin Herbert would never be able to get it done, because you never know who can get it done in the playoffs. We've seen guys like Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson win Super Bowls. So if those quarterbacks can win a championship, Bo Nix can have some playoff success, so can Justin Herbert. Despite the Eagles getting first rounded by the 49ers, this team is still good enough to win a Super Bowl for the next 5 years with how well this roster has been constructed by Harry Roseman. The majority of their best players on offense, they already have locked up long-term. Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts. I'm not including A.J. Brown in that mix because I think that for the Philadelphia Eagles to get back to the Super Bowl, there are two moves that they have to make. And one of those moves, the first one should be the Eagles trading A.J. Brown. That has to happen. It just isn't working out anymore. A.J. Brown, he got his ring, he got his bag, and now he wants his numbers too. The Eagles have too many high-level players on offense to be able to appease A.J. Brown's demands. And even then, A.J. Brown has been bitching about not getting as many opportunities as what he feels he deserves. And then all of a sudden, the Eagles start going to him in crucial moments against the 49ers. And the brother ends up getting butterfingers in the worst moments and costing the Eagles that game. Nick Sirianni was justified crashing out on A.J. Brown on the sidelines of that 49ers game, because you can't cry about, oh, I want to be more involved in the offense. Oh, I just want a few more touches. And then you finally get your opportunity. Your number finally gets called. It's your time to shine on one of the biggest stages, the NFL playoffs, and you drop every single thing. A.J. Brown looked like a certified bum against the 49ers. And that's why Nick Sirianni tweaked out on him on the sidelines, because you're doing all that loud mouthing, all that drama queen stuff on social media. But when it's time for you to step up on the field and show the world why you're one of the best receivers in the NFL, you put up a clunker. Yeah. It's time for A.J. Brown to go. The last 2 years with A.J. Brown in Philadelphia has been nothing but locker room drama, toxic, indirect, social media posts. It's like a High School Musical thing going on with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's just a bunch of soap opera that the Eagles don't need. The Eagles have to understand that A.J. Brown, despite how talented he is, he's not worth the headache, because at the end of the day, football is a team sport. To win a championship, everybody has to be on the same page. One team, one goal. You can't win a Super Bowl or repeat as Super Bowl champions when you have guys like A.J. Brown that are more caught up in their numbers than they are than the team winning and losing. The Eagles need to trade A.J. Brown for a first-round pick and use that first-round compensation that they're going to get in return for him to draft Mekhi Lemon, the receiver prospect coming out of USC that will be a top 20 or higher pick in this draft. Mekhi Lemon could be an instant upgrade from A.J. Brown. He's big, very physical, very good after the catch, a phenomenal route runner. You get a receiver that is already halfway as good as A.J. Brown for a fourth of the price. You trade away A.J. Brown, eventually some of that money comes off your salary cap. You'll have more money to spend to improve the other areas of your team that need to be addressed. The Eagles have the perfect opportunity to trade A.J. Brown while his stock is still high, get a very good haul in return for him, and continue to build this team up. You don't need guys like A.J. Brown to win a Super Bowl. You already have Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith is more than capable of being able to carry the load as the Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver one. I hate how folks act like it's such a big drop-off between A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Like Devontae Smith coming out of college didn't win the Heisman Trophy, one of the few non-quarterbacks ever to take home the award. He was really good as a rookie before they got A.J. Brown, despite Jalen Hurts being anemic passer before he ended up taking that next step in his development. So, I mean, Devontae Smith, if you're asking me, I don't think there's a difference between him or A.J. Brown at all. So you might as well trade A.J. Brown where you can still get a very good haul for him before he continues to publicly demonstrate his frustrations, how he's unhappy with his situation with the team, and then he goes public, and then he ends up saying, I want to get traded. And then when he demands a trade, his value goes down because now everybody knows you have no choice but to trade him. So You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And the Eagles got to get rid of A.J. Brown now before the situation gets worse, and you can't get as much in return if you were to get rid of him right now than if you just hold on to him. The second thing that the Eagles need to do to make it back to the Super Bowl is fire Kevin Patullo. We are 24 hours removed from the Eagles' wildcard loss to the 49ers, and Kevin Patullo, it still hasn't been announced that he's been fired. He should have been fired as soon as this game ended. As soon as they were going right back to the locker room, Nick Sirianni should have pulled Kevin Patullo to the side, said, hey, man, we appreciate your contributions to the team. We appreciate and we're grateful for everything that you've done over these last couple of years for this organization, but we're moving on and we're going in a different direction. And then replace Kevin Patullo with Brian Daboll. The Eagles, when they fired Kevin Patullo, the only guy they need to call to replace him as OC is Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll already has a lot of familiarity with Jalen Hurts, because if you didn't know this, Brian Daboll was Jalen Hurts' offensive coordinator his second year starting at Alabama. Brian Daboll is very good when it comes to getting the most out of quarterbacks that are athletically gifted, like how he did when he was the OC for the Buffalo Bills the first few years that Josh Allen was in the league. He did a very good job with Jackson Dart. Jalen Hurts with Brian Daboll will be a match made in heaven. You will see Jalen Hurts be a lot more efficient as a passer than what he has been this season. And you'll have one of the best offensive play callers on your staff looking to rebuild his reputation to get another opportunity to be a head coach again. Brian Daboll, if he's looking to rebrand himself and looking to earn a possible another opportunity to be a head coach again, the Eagles would be the best situation for him, because you have one of the most talented offenses in the NFL, a great offensive line, a solid quarterback, good receivers, one of the greatest running backs of our generation. All Brian Daboll needs to do is call plays for the Eagles for 2 years, help them win another Super Bowl, and he'll be right back at it again, interviewing for head coaching jobs. And the good thing about the Eagles possibly hiring Brian Daboll is that even if he does have a good first season calling plays for the Eagles, he's not automatically going to become another head coach again, because with how bad his tenure with the Giants aged, teams are going to be a little bit hesitant to hire Brian Daboll after just being 1 year removed from what went wrong with him with the New York Giants. So Brian Daboll could be the first offensive coordinator that Jalen Hurts has had in his career that has coached them for more than just 1 or 2 seasons. You got Brian Daboll for 2-3 years. So you keep the continuity. Jalen Hurts continues to get more comfortable under an offensive coordinator system, since he doesn't have to worry about learning a new one. So the two moves that the Eagles have to make to get back to the Super Bowl next year is trading A.J. Brown, where his value is still sky high and you can get a lot of return for him. Use that compensation to draft Mekhi Lemon to replace A.J. Brown, then fire Kevin Patullo and replace him with Brian Daboll as your OC. He already has the familiarity with his ties with Jalen Hurts at Alabama. He's great with dual threat quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts. Brian Daboll's trying to rebuild his reputation and get another head coaching opportunity. This would be a perfect opportunity for Brian Daboll and the Philadelphia Eagles. I think these are the two moves that the Eagles have to make if they're trying to get back to the Super Bowl next season. I received a record amount of DMs from a bunch of Jaguars fans asking my thoughts on the future of the Jaguars following their heartbreaking playoff loss to the Bills. The Jaguars don't have a lot of successful seasons like this very often. So when they get into the playoffs and they don't really go that far, you feel very disappointed, since you're not confident the Jaguars are ever going to be in a position like that again. But the Jaguars' new regime with Liam Cohen, James Gladstone, that's your general manager, and a bunch of the new leadership that they have in the front office has set Jacksonville up for success that they haven't had in decades. And what I mean success, I mean consistent success. With the emergence of Trevor Lawrence and the ascension that he has made under Liam Cohen in his first year, the Jaguars are going to be a consistent staple in the NFL playoffs for the next 7-8 years. Because when you have a quarterback that's been playing as good as what Trevor Lawrence has, along with one of the best up-and-coming bright offensive minds in the game, this season for the Jaguars isn't a one-off kind of thing like how 2017 was when you lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship and then you fell off right after that. Or in year one under Doug Peterson when you won the division, you beat the Chargers in the first round of the playoffs. The Jaguars, for the first time with Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen, are going to make it back to the playoffs. The Jaguars haven't had back-to-back playoff appearances in 27 years. The rest of this division isn't that good. Outside the Texans, the Colts aren't really going to be doing anything because they don't know what the hell they're doing at quarterback. The Tennessee Titans, their ownership can't be trusted to properly build around Cam Ward. So this division is just going to be a two-team race between the Jags and the Texans for the foreseeable future. So you're not really going to have that much competition. Your leadership in the front office, hey, James Gladstone, a.k.a. James Big Stones, he's super aggressive, and he's going to do everything it takes to turn the Jaguars into a Super Bowl caliber team as fast as possible. This isn't going to be one of those long out rebuilds where it takes you 4 or 5 years to finally have a Super Bowl capable roster. You saw when the Jaguars had a whole lot receiver, what did James Gladstone do? He waited, he got Jacoby Myers at the trade deadline. You got Greg Newsome. Yeah, some of his aggressive decisions haven't panned out, but some of them have. And in the NFL, you're not going to strike gold on every move that you make. I don't think that the Jaguars trading the farm for Travis Hunter was a bad move. Despite him missing the majority of his rookie season due to an injury, Travis Hunter's going to be a beast. Whether that be him playing corner, playing receiver, Travis Hunter's just one of those kinds of players that I'm not going to bet against. This dude is a freak. He's one of the most gifted players that the NFL has ever seen enter the league. And I feel in his rookie season, with how he was trying to play both ways, he just wasn't really going to be that great, even if he never got injured to begin with. Because if he truly is going to play both sides of the football, in one offseason, in 1 year, your first season in the NFL, you're not going to learn and master both the offensive playbook and defensive playbook. Next year, with Travis Hunter being in his second season under the current coaching staff, with the same DC, still Liam Cohen being there calling plays, you'll see him have a much bigger impact playing both ways than what he did in his rookie season. And I always thought that it was a little bit stupid how the Jaguars were playing him majority on offense and sparingly on defense. I've never seen a situational defensive back. I've never seen a corner only be put in the game in certain situations. Because if you're a corner, then we need you on every single down because you never know when the team is going to throw the football. And vice versa on offense. Like, you can have situational players, but if you're going to play him majority on offense and use him sparingly on defense, you might as well just play him majority on defense, which he is a much better corner than he is a receiver, and then insert him in certain packages on offense. That makes a lot more sense because I've never seen a situational corner in the NFL, but you do see situational players on offense, like how the Saints use Taysom Hill, how they'll have him playing tight end, running back, quarterback, whatever position they need him to play for certain plays, they'll put him at that spot. But when you have a guy that's playing both sides, it just makes more sense to play that guy more on defense and then use him in certain packages that you scheme up for him during the week of prep, and then you put him in for 15, 20 plays on offense. That just makes a lot more sense to me. But I feel the future of the Jacksonville Jaguars has never been better than what it is right now. You went in 1 year from being one of the worst teams in the NFL to having one of the best records in the league. 4-13 to 13-4 is incredible improvement. You finally found a head coach that has been able to unlock all of that potential that has been locked away for the last couple of years that Trevor Lawrence has been in the NFL. You have a good enough quarterback that can finally bring a Super Bowl to the city of Duval. When you have a good quarterback and a very good offensive-minded head coach, that normally results in consistent success for your organization. And Sean Khan, I don't think he's a bad owner. I just think that he's made some bad hires. He finally has hired the right people, and the Jaguars are just a few players away, 3 or 4, from being a true Super Bowl contender. And for them to make it to the playoffs after how bad they were last year, I think there's more to be happy about than there is to be disappointed. Obviously, once you get to the playoffs, you want to win. You want to have success. You don't want to have to wait another 8-9 months to have to do it all over again. But there's no shame in losing to Josh Allen. Josh Allen was inevitable. The other day, the Jaguars were going up against them. He just played a perfect game. He completed over 80% of his passes. He had 3 total touchdowns. The dude threw a 40-yard dot late in the fourth quarter, getting drilled off his back foot to Brandon Cooks. That's just something that you only see on Madden. So if Josh Allen's going to play like that, I mean, there's not really anything you can do to stop the brother when he's in the zone like that. And Trevor Lawrence did have a few turnovers that bit the Jaguars in the butt in the end. But overall, the Jaguars showed a lot of fight. And if Trevor Lawrence builds off the season that he just had, and he's even a lot better next season than what he is to end this season, he could be good enough to win MVP. So I'm really bullish on the Jaguars' future, despite this loss to the Buffalo Bills. I don't think there's anything to hold your head down about. I think every Jaguars fan should be feeling really good about this team following this playoff loss to Buffalo. Bryce Young is a very polarizing topic when it comes to discussing the future of the Carolina Panthers. This season, you more than exceeded expectations. You were just hoping that the Panthers would be a competitive team. They will win 7-8 games, challenge a few teams that they had no business being able to get right with, and Bryce Young showing a little bit of improvement. But winning the NFC South and then pushing a team that was a Super Bowl favorite for the majority of this season to the brink, and you almost beat them and you lose in heartbreaking fashion, that's a fantastic season for a franchise that's been down and out as long as the Carolina Panthers have been. And Bryce Young took major strides this season. Look, I know that at times this season he looked really bad, and then he had moments when he looked really good. So it makes it very difficult to assess just how good Bryce Young is, because right now we still don't really know how good Bryce Young is, at least what his potential is. We know what the floor is for Bryce Young. At worst, he's like a low-end starting quarterback, a very high-level backup. But Bryce Young, at his best, though, if he plays his best football, how good is he? Because to me, Bryce Young at his best is kind of like the chocolate version of Brock Purdy. He has good enough mobility to extend plays. He's not the fastest guy in the world. He's not Lamar or Kyler Murray or anything like that, but he has a little bit of wiggle in the way that he runs, that he can make a few guys miss in the open field, pick up 10, 12, 20 yards of grass if you give him the running lane to do so. And when he's in rhythm, he's really good getting the football out with anticipation with very good accuracy. You know, the arm strength isn't really that good, but he can throw the football downfield if need be, if you got to stretch the field. Overall, the Panthers with Bryce Young, there's a lot more to be optimistic about now than what there was a year ago. Because a year ago, Bryce Young looked worse than Jamarcus Russell. So me saying that Bryce Young took major strides this season in his development isn't me coping or still trying to defend the selection of him first overall. Like, we can all agree that drafting Bryce Young first overall over CJ Stroud was a mistake. CJ Stroud is obviously the better of the two quarterbacks. His ceiling and his potential is a lot higher than Bryce Young. If you had the opportunity to redo that pick again, we all would take CJ Stroud over Bryce Young. But Bryce Young is still a decent enough quarterback that when he's playing good football, if you have a good team around him, you can win 10 games. You can win a few playoff games. And we've seen guys like Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson win Super Bowls. We've seen guys like Joe Flacco win championships. So you don't necessarily need to have Josh Allen or Lamar to win a Super Bowl. Now, of course, you would love for Bryce Young to play like a guy that should be a first overall pick, like just be this all-world talented quarterback, but you're obviously not going to get that. But Bryce Young, with the roster that the Panthers have around them, you have very good young receivers. Coker, Ted McMillan are going to be a very formidable wide receiver duo for the foreseeable future. Jimmy Horn Jr., I expect him to have a breakout season starting in the slot for the Panthers next year. You got a solid offensive line. You're very good running the football. And hopefully you can put a way better defense on the field. So the Panthers, to me, next season, I think the expectations start at 9 wins and up. Bryce Young, for as up and down as what he's been this year and throughout his career, he has improved. Ever since he had that intervention with Rod Wave after he got benched, he's looked like a low-end starting caliber quarterback in this league. And the first few years that he was in the league, he was like the worst first overall pick in NFL history. He legitimately looked worse than Anthony Richardson and Jamarcus Russell. He was like a deer in headlights out there. This season, you've seen a lot more moments where you're like, okay, like I can get behind Bryce Young being the Panthers quarterback for the next 10 years. I can get behind the Panthers picking up Bryce Young's 5th-year option and then possibly giving him a contract extension if he's slightly better than what he was this season, next season. Because if you can get Bryce Young playing at a top 13, top 15 quarterback level and you're paying him like 25, 30 million per season, that's a huge bargain deal for you. Because most starting quarterbacks in this league, even if they aren't that good, even if they are like a top 15-ish quarterback or getting like 45, low end, 50 million a year. Look at Tua. The Dolphins made one of the worst decisions in the history of the NFL by overpaying Tua. Because Tua at his best was like Brock Purdy. But they were paying Tua Josh Allen kind of money for Brock Purdy kind of production. If the Panthers extend Bryce Young, they can't give him Tua kind of money with Brock Purdy kind of expectations, because the more you get paid, the more you're expected to do, since the money that you're getting is taken away from the money that could be better spent at improving other areas of the team to make sure that you have a better supporting cast. So the good thing about Bryce Young is if he doesn't become this elite quarterback that the Panthers hope he would, and he just becomes like an Alex Smith or Brock Purdy, you won't have to break the bank. You won't have to go broke for cash to pay Bryce Young, and you'll have a quarterback on a reasonable enough contract to where you can spend a lot of money on the defensive line, on the secondary, at linebacker, on the O-line, bringing in more difference makers. Because a quarterback like Bryce Young is only going to go as far as the team that you give him. So if you give him a team that makes it impossible for him to be as volatile as what he has been this season with a rock-solid offensive line, great receivers. You can be functional with Bryce Young. And Bryce Young may be the best midget quarterback in the history of the NFL because, I mean, right now, if you were to ask me who would I rather have, Bryce Young or Kyler Murray, I'd rather have Bryce Young. Bryce Young is a way better thrower of the football within the pocket than what Kyler Murray is. Kyler Murray doesn't operate the quick passing game as efficiently as what Bryce Young has the ability to do. At least Bryce Young got the Panthers to the playoffs. I mean, Kyler Murray has only been to the playoff once, and he stunk it up against the Rams. Bryce Young's playoff performance against the Rams was respectable. Was it great? No. Was it bad? No. Like, he had some moments during that Rams game, especially on one of the final drives that the Panthers had the ball on offense, where he was able to help them take the lead late in that game. I mean, you can say all you want to about the turnovers that he had and the missed opportunities that he had, but he had some moments. He had some flashes, and all throughout this season, he's had more flashes that say, yeah, like, I can get behind Bryce Young as my starting quarterback. Then, yeah, I need to get this dude the hell off my team. Now, obviously, if you could do better, you should do better. If you could get somebody like a Lamar or a Josh Allen, then you go ahead and you do that. But guys like Bryce Young, getting somebody that can be like a top 15 or better quarterback, most teams will love that. And you're playing in the NFC. The NFC doesn't have gods at quarterback like you do in the AFC. Now, if the Panthers win the AFC and you were going up against, Lamar, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Drake May in the playoffs, then yeah, you got to do a lot better than Bryce Young. But in the NFC, you're going up against guys like Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, guys that are good, but not really guys that you look like as great right now. So in the NFC, I think Bryce Young is a very good fit for the Panthers long term, as long as he's not asking for an outrageous amount of money. And I'm pretty sure Bryce Young isn't going to suck the Panthers dry. I'm pretty sure he's a pretty honest guy. I'm pretty sure he looks at himself in the mirror. He says, I'm not the best quarterback in the NFL. I'm not one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, I'm an okay quarterback. So he understands that. He's not unrealistic about what he is as a player. He knows that there's a lot of improvement that he needs to make. But if you can get solid quarterback play out of Bryce Young, and you don't have to pay an arm and a leg every season to keep him around, and you can continue to stack up talent, yeah, I think that maybe one day you could win the Super Bowl with Bryce Young. Now, is he a quarterback that I truly believe you can win a Super Bowl with a normal team? No. But if you give Bryce Young, like, 2024 Philadelphia Eagles kind of talent around him, then yeah, he can win you a Super Bowl. Because, I mean, anybody could win a Super Bowl with that kind of team. Now, is it realistic to expect the Panthers to put that kind of team around Bryce Young? I think that it is. I mean, their offense right now looks pretty good. Like, I love your receivers. Rico Dowdle, I don't know if you're going to keep him around or not, but Chuba Hubbard's still there. You can run the football, the best of them. Let's not forget about Jonathan Brooks. Like, that brother is an animal. Now, I get it. He's gone like several season-ending injuries into his career, but Jonathan Brooks can still be a very good back. So there's a lot of talent around Bryce Young on this offense. A lot of young talent that's going to grow and improve along with Bryce Young also. And he also is going to be going in to his third season under Dave Canales' system. So I'm not against giving Bryce Young a long-term extension after next year. If you see more improvement and you see slightly more growth out of Bryce Young, extend him. But if he regresses somewhat, then yeah, you let him hit the open market and you go do better. And I still would draft a quarterback if I'm the Carolina Panthers. I would take a flyer on Carson Beck or somebody like that. I know this isn't the greatest quarterback class in the world. I'm not saying you're looking for Bryce Young's replacement. You're just looking for a contingency plan. Okay, if Bryce Young stinks it up, we're going to put this young guy in there, see what he does. If he stinks it up, then it's right back to the drawing board. But the state of the Carolina Panthers has never been better than what it is right now. You had a competitive playoff game that nobody thought you would even have a shot at being able to keep it close in. And then two, like, your young quarterback has actually looked like a somewhat serviceable starter in this league after playing worse than Jamarcus Russell for the previous few seasons. The 49ers and the Seahawks are playing for the third time this season, this time in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. The winner is one game shy of making it to the Super Bowl. Every year that Kyle Shanahan has been in the playoffs, he's at least made it to the NFC Conference Championship game. And there's a very good chance that the 49ers pull off this upset against the Seahawks. I'm shocked that the Seahawks are a touchdown favorite to win this game, considering that the previous two matchups have been low-scoring defensive slugfest. And the 49ers had ample opportunities to win that second game. It's just that Mike Macdonald, he just had Kyle Shanahan's number that game. But the first time the Seahawks and the 49ers played, the 49ers won that game 17-13. So obviously, despite the talent advantage that the Seahawks have over the 49ers, the coaching of the 49ers is good enough to close that gap. And Robert Saleh defensively, he's only given up 13 points to Sam Darnold. And the Seahawks obviously don't trust Sam Darnold that much, despite what they may say publicly. Their play calling on offense shows otherwise. They run the football even if the run isn't working, and they don't ask Sam Darnold to have to put that cape on to win. If Robert Saleh can shut down the run game of Seattle completely and force them to have to throw the football a good amount with Sam Darnold, he is going to make mistakes, because that's just the kind of quarterback that Sam Darnold is. He's just the kind of quarterback that even when he's playing good football, he's going to have 2 or 3 plays throughout the game that you're going to say, what the hell were you doing throwing that? What were you thinking doing that? Why would you take such a big sack for a loss? Why not just throw the ball out of bounds and live for the next play? Sam Darnold is just a reckless quarterback. That's just in his DNA. That's just what he's going to be. Even with the good, he's going to be one of those quarterbacks that he can throw 5-6 touchdowns in the game and still have 2-3 interceptions. That's just Sam Darnold. Brock Purdy is the same way. But with Mike Macdonald being a defensive-minded coach, though, the turnovers are a little bit more back-breaking for him in a low-scoring game. Meanwhile, for Kyle Shanahan, in a low-scoring game, you trust that eventually, as long as your defense can continue to buy you time to get into the game and to find a few plays on offense that put some points on the board for you, you're going to be all right. And the same way the 49ers beat the Philadelphia Eagles, it's the same way they could beat the Seattle Seahawks. That Eagles game, for the most part, was a defensive game. And Robert Saleh deserves a game ball for the way that his defense played against Jalen Hurts and that Eagles offense, because they were giving the 49ers offense enough time to get a few big plays that ended up flipping the outcome of that game. Like you had the trick play with Jawan Jennings late in that game. When Robert Saleh's on your staff, despite the injuries that you may have on defense, he's such a good enough coach that he can overcome a lot of the injuries that you have on the defensive side of the football. And if the Seahawks are going to have a conservative offense, you really don't have to worry about those injuries really being exposed as much compared to if you were going up against Sean McVay and the Rams. Then yeah, I'll be a little bit more worried. But Sam Darnold has played some very good football, but the Seahawks have training wheels on Sam Darnold. They don't trust him that much, since Mike Macdonald being a defensive-minded coach, he'd rather play it safe than be aggressive and put his defense in in bad situations that are a disadvantage to that side of the football that he specializes in. So I think that Kyle Shanahan, with how great he's been coaching this year, his offense will look much better this go-around against Seattle than what it did the last time he went up against Mike Macdonald's defense and only scored 3 points. You don't really see Kyle Shanahan's offense score 3 points that often. Normally, they're a safe bet to at least score 17. And just like that last game that the 49ers just played against the Eagles. Against the Seahawks, a team that has only scored 13 points against you the 2 times you played, if you can get to 20 points, You feel that's good enough to get you the win. You don't know if the Seahawks are going to get the 20 points. They can get the 20 points if they uncharacteristically come out with the game plan that we're just going to prove to the 49ers that we're just a more talented team than them. We're going to take the training wheels off Sam Darnold, and we're going to let him rip. We're going to let him push the football downfield. And plays can be made on this 49ers defense. But it just seems as if the Seahawks don't have enough confidence in Sam Darnold to try to take advantage of the injuries and the limitations that the 49ers have on the defensive side of the football. But if they do, then this game could be a blowout. Let's say Sam Darnold comes out and he's lights out. 3 touchdowns in the first half. The Seahawks are up 27-10 at half. That's ball game from that point because Kyle Shanahan teams aren't good when they're trailing from behind. Kyle Shanahan still has to be able to run the football. So when the 49ers are trailing, it makes the 49ers play calling extremely predictable. And we talk about Sam Darnold's reckless play. Brock Purdy's no better. Brock Purdy, even when he plays a good game, he can throw 5 touchdowns, still have 2 turnovers. Brock Purdy's the kind of quarterback that he's not the most talented. He's not the most athletic, but he has enough awareness and enough understanding of situational football that he knows how to make the right plays or put himself in a position to make the right plays at the right time as far as being able to break out a few sacks, make a few guys miss, pick up a first down, maybe throw for a first down, keeping the play alive. But Brock Purdy can get a little bit reckless at times, and his recklessness can hurt the 49ers a lot more against the Seahawks than anybody else since the Seahawks defense is so good. And let's say Brock Purdy throws an interception in the red zone. You don't know how many more opportunities you're even going to get to even be able to score a touchdown in the red zone against this Seahawks defense. So you have to maximize possessions, and the possessions matter a lot more for Kyle Shanahan than they do for Mike McDonald, because even if your offense does have a red zone turnover, okay, cool, like my defense can bail us out. We got the advantage on the line of scrimmage. The 49ers have to play a little bit more mistake-free than what the Seahawks do. The Seahawks can win this game even if they do have a few turnovers. The 49ers are the team that has a smaller margin for error in this game than what the Seahawks do, since the Seahawks are the more talented team and they also are really well coached. So when you're at a talent disadvantage, like what the 49ers are heading into this game, you know that possessions are going to be at a premium, and you're going to have to maximize every chance you touch the football. And one turnover, one mistake could cost you the game. I like the 49ers +7, but I do like the Seahawks to win. But I would not be shocked if the 49ers win this game. Now, I'm not going to make an official prediction. I'm going to make my prediction for this game 2 days from now on Wednesday. But I wouldn't be shocked if the 49ers won this game. Kyle Shanahan, Robert Saleh have been coaching their you-know-what's off. This team still has a good amount of talent on offense, and the defense has a few players that can make some key plays in big moments, and that's really all you need to win it all. Sometimes the best teams, the most talented teams, don't always win the Super Bowl. Sometimes the team that is the most well coached ends up being the one that wins it all, because coaching matters a lot more than having a talented roster. So we'll see how the 49ers play against the Seahawks. I also think that the experience factor leans the 49ers' way. Mike McDonald hasn't coached in a playoff game as a head coach. He's been in the playoffs as a coordinator, but he's never been a head man in the playoffs. And when you're in the playoffs, situational football matters a lot in these games. You know, having a good feel of if we should punt the football on 4th down, should we go for it? Should we just take the points, kick the field goal? Kyle Shanahan has a better grasp of these situations since he's been in a lot more of them than what Mike McDonald has. So you can make a good amount of arguments for both of these teams being able to win this game. I expect it, regardless of who wins it, for this to be a pretty competitive game like how the previous 2 games were. And with Kyle Shanahan being an offensive-minded coach, his offense got shut down the last time he played against Mike McDonald. When he goes back and he re-watches the film, he'll probably be like, yeah, I'm going to have to do this a lot better. I'm going to just have to get away from that. My early thoughts on this Rams-Bears NFC divisional round game, if you're somebody that bets, take the over. The over right now is at 50. This is easily going to be a 45-42 kind of game, like the same game that we saw between the Bears and the 49ers a few weeks ago is the exact same way that this game should look. You have 2 defenses that aren't really playing that great, albeit the Bears defense plays pretty good in the second half. The Rams defense, they got a good defensive line. They got some solid linebackers, but their secondary is absolutely grits. If Emmanuel Forbes is your best defensive back, yeah, your secondary is a liability. And Emmanuel Forbes hasn't been garbage by any stretch. Not trying to say that as a jab against him. I'm just saying that if Emmanuel Forbes is your number 1 corner, then it says a lot about how your cornerback room just isn't really that good. And you can't throw the football on the Rams if you do have a good offensive line like the Bears do. We saw Bryce Young twice carve up this Rams secondary. Caleb Williams does have a tendency to get a little bit streaky at times. But if he comes out hot in this game, then the Bears have a very good shot at sending the Rams home, because the Rams have been sleepwalking this last month of the season. They barely were able to beat a Panthers team that they were a 2-touchdown favorite to beat. And then also, their defense has regressed as well. At one point, the Rams had one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now, their defense, I don't even know if you look at it as a strength. Their defensive coordinator was being in the talks for a few head coaching jobs. Now, you might have to be asking yourself, you're Sean McVay, do I need to get rid of this guy after the season? Can this guy still win me a Super Bowl? Like, is the defense still going to be good enough to, we need them to stop Caleb Williams on a game-winning drive? Are they going to be able to do so? Their special teams has also been a huge liability. The special teams is what concerns me the most about the Rams going up against Chicago Bears. Because let's say that the Bears do get down early and they come back the same way that they did last week against the Packers. Special teams could hurt you, because special teams is what lost the Packers in that game. Special teams is the most overlooked part of the football that never gets any attention until it costs you a game. There's a lot of hidden yardage with special teams as far as the field position battle goes, and there's hidden points that can be scored with special teams. If you choose to neglect to take the 3 points and you go for it on 4th down and you get stopped and then you end up losing the game, maybe you not taking the points could be the difference between you winning and losing the game in that situation. And then, with the punt coverage, what if the Rams end up giving off a big punt return to Devin Duvernay, who's been really good for the Bears this year? What if they end up having a block punt and the Bears end up winning the game because of that? Right now, the only reason to still be high on the Rams' chances of winning the Super Bowl is due to how good Matthew Stafford has been and the genius of Sean McVay. But outside of that, their defense and their special teams are 2 units that are really going to impact this game. The Bears, they're the best second half team in football. The Rams are right behind them. These are the 2 and 3 teams in the NFL in second half scoring. But the team that I trust to make the better adjustments in the second half are the Chicago Bears, with how they have the ability to play a lot better on the defensive side of the ball than what the Rams have the ability to do. Now, if the Bears, let's say they get out to a sluggish start and they start out slow like how they did against the Detroit Lions, I don't think they're going to come back and win this game. I don't think the Bears can get a comeback win over the Rams like how they did last week against the Packers, since the Rams have a more high-powered offense. And yeah, your defense can get Matthew Stafford and Puka off the field occasionally, but from a personnel standpoint, your secondary against the Rams wide receivers, yeah, it's going to be an all-you-can-eat buffet for Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. Like, Jalen Johnson has somewhat fallen off coming into this year. He was like a top 3, top 5 corner in the game. Nah, he's still one of the best corners in the game, but not top 5, top 3. I definitely think that's a little bit debatable right now where you would slot Jalen Johnson. I don't think now he's an undeniable top 5, top 3 corner. I think now you can have some questions about that, where he ranks as far as the elite corners go. So rather, if he's matched up on Puka or Devontae Adams, is your second corner Nahshon Wright, who I think probably could be an all-pro, should be an all-pro with how well he's played. You know, is he going to be able to hold his own against Puka or Devontae Adams if he gets matched up against them? You know, like, as good as Dennis Allen has been in the second half of these games, if the Bears start out slow on offense and they can't keep up with the Rams offense, and you're asking for the Bears defensively to rattle off a few stops late against Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, I don't see that happening. Matthew Stafford is one of the clutchest quarterbacks in the league, and Sean McVay, his play call in the second half is also very phenomenal. So the Bears, if they can go point for point with the Rams like how they have the ability to do, and Caleb Williams plays this game in its entirety the same way that he plays the last 5 minutes of games that the Bears are trailing in, the Bears can get right. They can win this game. The Rams have never looked more vulnerable this season than what they currently do right now in the playoffs. The Rams are doing the complete opposite of what you should do as a team. You should be playing your best football in the playoffs, not your worst football. You're supposed to play your worst football to start the season and then get better as you go. But the Rams seem to get worse and worse every week you watch them play on TV. The only thing saving them is Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. Can that bail them out again against the Rams, against the Bears? I think it could. But then again, like, the Bears are one of those kinds of teams that if you allow them to stay with you and to close a game, they'll find a way to get something fluky, something lucky, and they'll walk away with a W. And they do have a very formidable home field advantage. The Rams play in the Dome. They're from Cali. A Cali team having to get a win in a cold weather climate like Chicago, where it could be like negative 32 degrees. You never know how cold it's going to be in Chicago. I make a joke every day living in Jacksonville. I'll wake up early in the morning, go outside. It's like 30, 40 degrees. And I'll joke to my homeboys, man, it feels like Chicago and Jacksonville. But Chicago, 32 degrees probably feels like negative 16 degrees. It gets so cold in Chicago at times that if you were to pee in a cup outside, your pee will automatically get frozen. And we saw how the Rams offense kind of struggled for the majority of that game last year when they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. So I got some questions about how the Rams are going to look in a cold weather game, but I expect this to be a 45-42 kind. And there are going to be points and bunches in this game. Ultimately, if you put a gun in my head right now and you said, JT, you got to tell us who you have winning this game at the moment, I'm going to be honest, I kind of lean the Bears. I really do. I think that they have a lot more momentum. They're playing better football than what the Rams have. They're a well-coached team. Ben Johnson has done a remarkable job turning around this organization, helping Caleb Williams develop. And then this Rams secondary, I can see Caleb Williams going off against it.